Alright guys, this is Dr. Dave. On the tail end of the previous video where we walked out to the barn out there and toured that, so let's go back into the house and I'm going to tell you a little bit more about what I'm going to do to increase the value of the hip campsite that I proposed. And so we're back in my office. Get the camera on the stand here so we can talk a little easier. So one of the things that I'm going to do is I looked at the hip campsites around me, and most of them are really nice mountain sites. They're around $50, and you're talking little tent sites where you walk out of the tent and there's a pond in front of you, or they're in a nice, really beautiful wooded section. I mean, we're talking. It looks like a national forest campground kind of a thing. That's what I'm going to be competing with. And so for me to charge at least $50, I'm not going to charge that much for the cot site, but for me to charge at least $50 for the tent site once we get it ready in the barn, I'm actually going to play up some of the horror aspects of where I live. You see, the place I live is at the end of a dirt road. I've got 5 acres here. My parents own another 5 beside me. We're surrounded, on 3 sides we've got neighbors, and through the trees. Close enough I could shoot at them if I needed to, but far enough away that they tend not to bother us. Unless the dogs get loose, and then we have to fight the dogs. Yeah, I won't get into that one much. But, okay, so on the other side, though, is like 300 acres of woods, nothing but woods. And so here's what I'm thinking about doing, or what I'm actually going to do to make my hip campsite more lucrative, to make people want to stay here more if they're comparing it to the local state parks and those other hip campsites where they can stay at something so much prettier than the barn that I showed you in the previous video. Mine is going to be haunted, and I'm not, I don't believe in ghosts and everything like in the movies. I mean, that's a much further spiritual discussion, how I feel about ghosts and stuff, but there are some crazy things that have happened around here. For one, I mean, in front of my yard is another guy that owns some land. He brought an old mobile home out there and just abandoned it. And so, yeah, I'm stuck with the monstrosity of an old mobile home in my front yard, kind of at the end of the end of the field. We'll put it that way. So somebody, I don't know who, spray painted free candy on the side of it, as if it was maybe like a serial killer's house or something. So there's that. Also, the guy that, Mike Mignola, the guy that created Hellboy. Some of y'all have probably seen the Hellboy movies or read the comics. I'm a big comic nerd, so I've always been a Hellboy fan. But Mike Mignola wrote a series of comics in the Hellboy universe, featuring characters from the movie and all that, called the Pickens County Horror. And so this series of comics is about a strange fungus, and it's a crazy story. If you want me to send it to you on PDF or something, I'd be more than happy to, because if you like horror stories in comics, it's pretty cool. But what's really cool is that it's set here. The Pickens County Horror series of comic books is set here, and so I'm actually going to play that up. This is going to be the Pickens County Horror House, and so I'm going to play that up as part of my horror aspect to attract people to my hip camp. And not to mention that we're in my basement right now. This is my office over here. There's the stairway that goes upstairs, and then the other half of the basement is over there. It's kind of just minimalist and junky right now, so I won't bother showing you all that. But on the other half of the basement, it's my bedroom. And so that's where I sleep. And so I actually found out that the old fellow that built this house, he built it by hand. He was a mason, built this house by hand in the early 80s. Matter of fact, I think it was 1980. And so he built this place by hand, and he actually was murdered right over there. Matter of fact, he was murdered right where my bed is. There was a huge gas stove down here in this basement. And basically the big brick pedestal frame, whatever you want to call it, but the area where the stove sat, it's a raised platform. We'll call it a platform. It's a raised brick platform, big enough for a full-size bed. So I actually don't have a bed frame or anything. I just have a bed mattress on top of that brick platform. That's where the stove used to be, and that's where he was murdered by his son. I spoke to a neighbor the other day, And this neighbor was actually the person that responded and put this guy out. I mean, when she got here, she said the blast. All right, so let me digress a little bit, tell you the whole story. He was working on his gas stove. And the story I've heard from multiple neighbors now that lived in the area then was that his son turned the gas on, knowing his dad was working down here, so that when his dad lit a match, made a spark, anything like that, that it would kill him. And that's how he was murdered, by his son. And apparently the blast blew him out the door that we came in just a second ago. It blew him out the door into the yard, and he was in flames. And the neighbor came up to put him out, and his son was just sitting here in the house spraying the water hose on what little fire was inside the house. I mean, it's all brick and everything down here. It wouldn't have hurt anything for a long time. He was inside the house spraying the water hose while his dad was outside in the yard screaming and in flames. And so that's another little aspect of, if people want to stay here and maybe indulge in some scary stories, that kind of thing. And I can even add on a haunted experience, because I'll be honest with you, if you're not used to the woods and things like that, I can take people on a guided nighttime walk and make it incredibly spooky. Because you know how it is. If you're not familiar with the woods at night and you don't know what all the little noises are, I mean, to be honest with you, most of the time it's wind and tiny lizards running through the leaves and stuff. Most people don't know that. I can really freak some people out and charge more for the experience. People will pay you more to scare them. I guarantee it. If that wasn't true, then all those haunted houses that pop up at Halloween time wouldn't make money. And they do. They make a ton of money on very little work. And so that's what I'm going to do. So be sure to check my YouTube channel. I'll post frequent updates as we build out this hip campsite. I'll keep posting updates as we, because as soon as we get it built out or close to, we're going to go ahead and offer it. I will give you updates on what I'm doing to increase the income per camper, per person that's staying, and make this more of a niche site rather than just a basic campsite in an old barn, because that's truthfully all it is. But I'm going to make it cool, make it fun, and I will be sure to warn people about the neighbor further down the dirt road that loves to shoot a shotgun at various things throughout the night and day and night, pretty much all the time. We've got coyotes, we got bears, we got turkeys, deer, everything. That area down where the barn is, everything comes through there. It's almost like a game trail coming right through that barn. Seldom comes up to the house. They travel the barn and then follow down through some of the other yards going out to the creek. And so it's really cool. And next door, 2 neighbors over, is a horse pasture. And so there's a donkey over there that roams the neighborhood. It's the neighborhood donkey. He ends up in our yard all the time. He loves what we've grown up here. And so he's really friendly, but when he gets to making donkey noises at night, if people aren't used to that, it's going to scare them half to death. And like I said, they'll pay me more money for it. All right, so as you guys here in the group have any questions about this kind of thing, or if you've got your own property and you kind of want me to, do a walkthrough with you on video or Zoom or pictures or anything, and we could talk about maybe what you could do there, give you some ideas and stuff, feel free to hit me up in the Facebook group. And until then, talk to you guys later.